Hi everybody. I thought I'd make a video, and first of all, I realize that the videos that I do post are kind of crappy when I have the thumbnail on there because I don't really know what I'm doing. My 20-year-old's gonna teach me how to, when you do the thumbnail for searching, to make it look better, because I was looking at that and I realized that there's some weird faces on there, and like I said, you're talking to somebody who's learning how to do this. Is like asking a dinosaur to learn modern technology. But for me, it's trying to get the information out as much as possible. That is more important to me than the looks of something. I'm not here to sit here and look pretty, but I realize that some things look really foolish. So I even have to laugh because I do have a sense of humor, and but like I said, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to like posting. I mean, I can write the descriptions, but I have no idea how to properly post stuff. So my 20-year-old's kind of gave up and is gonna help me do some things. So needless to say, I do know that some of it looks ridiculous, but it is what it is. You're talking to a dinosaur. So anyways, the reason why I made this video is it's very important. It's actually kind of a serious matter. And here where we are in Tulare County, in the newspaper kind of came out that there was a father who, there was an Amber Alert for a father and a son that disappeared. And what it was is there was a couple that had divorced, and there was a custody exchange. And the father was late for the custody exchange. He didn't show up with the toddler. And of course, it's one of those things where you just don't think that it will happen. It's kind of one of those things that, most people don't do this. But there was an Amber Alert taken out, and it came out in the paper about 2 days ago, I want to say. And needless to say, they found the car and the bodies of the father and the toddler. And so this is a worst nightmare for, unfortunately, the mother of the toddler, and of course the family. So my condolences to the woman, and of course the family of the father that did this. And the reason why it's so important to talk about this is because it's the mental health of people in general, but of men. And the reason why I stress this is there's so many men that go through divorces that suffer from mental health, but nobody wants to address, because men, from my own personal experience watching this, and of course knowing about somebody who does have mental health issues, they don't want to talk about it, or they refuse to recognize it, or just people just ignore it. I know with CWS, they always hyper focus on women. They always butcher them. My own personal experience, say, oh, well, it's a woman who does this. In reality, it does take two to tango, but a lot of the times what you're going to see is that men have the significant amount of mental health issues. And this is because they're not able, because they have this concept that people will make them look weak, or they will feel weak if they're say that they're having problems, which is not fair to them. It is not fair to criticize anybody that is suffering from any type of depression, any type of hardship, because divorce of any kind is very hard. Or if anybody is suffering from a mental illness, you should not criticize them. In today's society, mental illness, I believe, 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 suffers from a mental health issue. Instead of being labeled as or ostracized, these people should be supported. They should be given services. They should be lifted up. And I am an advocate for that, obviously, because I have my children that have this. But having dealt with a person who has something like, has this, but doesn't want to treat it, or having dealt with other people, this is a problem. And what I want to say is that anybody who has a mental health issue and takes a medication for it, they can be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. They're good people. It's not, from my personal opinion, and I've worked with a hospital with my children, a wonderful hospital, wonderful psychiatrist. And the way it was explained to me, it's like a heart valve. What do you do when your heart isn't working right? We go to a doctor and we get it fixed, or we take something that helps us live longer to fix the valve in our heart. So if the brain isn't working right chemically, what do? We take a medication that allows our brain to function appropriately, so we can go and get a job, we can go work with our family members, and then we get therapy. So if we take that medication, it allows the brain to get out of that fog so we can go to therapy, we can be supported by our families. But when you're sitting here and you're being ostracized or bullied, whether you're a man or a woman, it has you not think clearly. So I'm tired of hearing about how big pharmacies are evil, because I know from my own son who has seizure disorder because of a brain cyst, he would be dead. And so there are many benefits that we actually have because of these companies. And there has been such a misunderstanding. So, when I see things like this, tragedies that happen, we will never know what actually happened between these two people. And that's the way it should be. We should respect both sides. I will never know. None of us will why he did what he did. And my personal opinion and in my experience is that more than likely during that time when he did take his life and the child or whatever happened, he was not thinking clearly. He probably was psychotic. And if he was in therapy or on medication, he probably would not have done what he did. Or maybe it was an accident. I don't know. But what I do know is that there was an Amber Alert and the child was taken. And there's 2 bodies now. And what I can do is with the poor mother, I can only imagine and support her and just only imagine the emotions that she's going through and wish her the best and pray for her, because I cannot pretend and say, oh, I can understand what you're going through, because I cannot. It's not fair for me to even pretend that I understand what she's going through, because I can't. Anybody in her family or her community, that's close to her, I can't. All I can do is promote, and keep saying mental health is so important. Stop labeling people, because we're going to keep having shootings. We're going to keep having couples or ex-couples, and there are married people that have a partner that has bipolar disorder, and there's nothing wrong with having bipolar disorder. Again, that is a chemical brain imbalance that you are born with, or you can develop from a car accident. You can develop from a stroke. People need to stop labeling people. Universities need to accept people and say, hey, we're going to support you. Teach people in the community that you are okay. It's all right. It's like a heart valve. Stop it, because otherwise you're going to have people that do, foolish things or things that are tragic. It doesn't have to happen. In a way, society is promoting it by labeling these people, because there's so many undiagnosed people, because they're afraid to go get the services. So if you see somebody that's acting strange, that's not communicating, withdrawing, not making eye contact, they're suddenly acting different, if they're talking to you, if they're withdrawing, you might want to talk to them or go kind of get some help. And as for child welfare services, my personal experience, again, I want to stress, they attack the mother and they ignore the father. They favor the father. Now, some people are going to disagree, but I call bull, because that's my experience. And what's happening is we have men, some of them, not all. There's a lot of wonderful fathers out there, and I do know that, because my own dad, my mother died when I was 12 years old, and my father raised me, and then he was in the military, so he moved around, so my grandfather raised me. So there's a lot of wonderful dads out there, absolutely wonderful dads. But what happens is there's this small group of men that will literally manipulate it and make women look bad. And they'll say, oh, she's mentally ill, she can't have the kids. But there's another group of men that are so stressed out by some women, let's be honest, that are manipulators, just like the men, that they are afraid to say that they're stressed out, and they will do things like this. You know what I mean? Or there's women that will become suicidal. So instead of, going after these people, we should support them. And, having children with special needs, I have met so many wonderful psychiatrists, therapists, but people are afraid to interact with these people because of the label. And that is tragic. You don't need to do that. You should really seek these people out. You don't have to tell anybody. It's nobody's damn business if you go. Nobody's business. And I want everybody to understand that. You even have to tell your partner or your family or your friends. You don't have to tell anybody. It's one of those things. That's why I sigh. I'm just like, if you don't want anybody to know, don't tell them. But if you're that afraid, just go. But just remember, the way it was explained to me is that it's just like a body function that doesn't work. You're fixing part of your body that, it's chemically imbalanced. And that's in layman terms, So please get help. And so we don't have any more tragedies like this. And I just want to be supportive. And it is kind of sad right now to hear about this because, a toddler's dead and a man's dead and we'll never know their story. And your heart breaks for the family because this is another tragedy that, didn't have to happen. And we do see this a lot. So anyways, it's sad, as you can tell. It's a bummer. So anyways, I just thought I'd put this out, and it is what it is. But please, go get some help and spread the word about the importance of mental health and taking medication and working with therapists. But big pharmacy is not Satan, guys. It's not Satan. Doesn't mean it's a solution. It's not the solution. It's not magic. But it's not Satan, guys. For those of you that are like that, please stop doing that. Because we're having more tragedies like this. And it's not needed. So, I'm not going to go into a whole anti-vaxxer thing. That I don't really have an opinion on that. I stay away from that because that's a whole nother issue. I just respect people's opinion on that. And when it comes to mental health, that to me, I'm a big person on that. So, all right, I'm going to try and figure this whole posting thing out. I'm going to let my 20-year-old help me with that because I'm kind of sad with that. But all right, well, thank you. And I hope somebody spreads this around because mental health is so important. And I know people have so much capability, that have mental health issues. They're some of the most brilliant people that I have ever met in my entire life. So, okay, well, thank you and take care, guys.